All right, let's get started on this. Hey, welcome everyone again for another video from Resolutions Design. My name is Edwin, agency owner of Resolutions Design, and here in this video we're going to talk about how to change your store name, beginner's guide. So if you're new to this channel, please make sure you press that subscribe, that notification bell, as we give tips and tricks as to how you could improve your Shopify store. So let's get right to this in this presentation. All right, so what's the problem here? Well, why are we watching this video? Well, chances are that you've created a Shopify domain or created a store name, and Shopify, for some whatever reason, doesn't let you change that original Shopify URL. And, depending on how this problem is populated, this might be important to your store, or based on this video, you might realize that it's not really such a big deal and you could do a very quick fix about it. So in this video, what I'm going to try to do is kind of like pinpoint out exactly why we're in this situation, how can we prevent it, right? And how do we move forward? Because based on this problem, you might have different reasons. So let's talk about the different reasons as to why you're in this problem. And so here are the main reasons as to why you might want to change your name, and I'm going to be covering all of these parts. So the first one might be because you misspelled it. You were going too fast when you went and you typed in the name of the business and you realized, oh, wow, I mistyped this whole thing. I need to redo it again. Another reason might be is that when you were first starting off with your store, it was a prototype name, like it was just a beta name. And now that you further went along into your business, you came up with a better name and it's too late. You're like, oh, I need to change the name of this Shopify store because now I have a new name. The third reason might be because change of business, right? So you were once selling something and then you realize that, you know what, I'm not going to sell this. I'm going to sell something else. And therefore you're like, well, if I'm going to sell something else, I need to change the business name. And that's what has me in this problem. Or you probably sold or purchased your business to someone else, and what they're trying to do is have you change the name, or you purchased the business from someone else and you're trying to rename the business and the URL is just kind of stuck there. So that might be the reason. If there is another reason that I haven't listed here, just put it down in the comments so that I could tell you if this video does pertain to you or if this is something that I should create another video on. So if these are one of your reasons, then hopefully you're in the right place here. Okay, so let's start right away discussing about the first two right away, which is either the misspelling or the prototype name, right? Let's talk about something that I like to call a strategy phase. And so a strategy phase, basically, one of the ways that you solve it out is that, before you start your store, you need to really plan it out on paper first. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, when you start your store, you're going very, very fast. You're just like, I want to get my store up and running already. Let me just get this going. But here at an agency, Resolution Design, when we build businesses for clients, we don't just pull the trigger and fire off the hip, right? What we do is that we have a strategy session, a discovery session where we plan it out. And typically we do that on paper. We say, okay, so what is the name of this business? What should we call this store, right? Let's put it down on paper first. And right away, what you should do before you even build the account on Shopify is that you should go and purchase the domain. You should see if it's available first, right? So go to places like GoDaddy.com or go to cheapdomainname.com, whatever it is, and first see if the .com name is available. Do not build your Shopify store before doing this step. Like, first make sure that the domain is available. And I have another video as to how to purchase your domain and how to get your domain connected to Shopify. But that's what you need to do first. First, figure out that domain. And then from there, plan out how the business is going to be, so on and so forth, okay? So that's the first step. Now I'm going to move on into the next step. Like, what happens if this has nothing to do with you planning it out? It's just that you've already built your business. It's already been months ahead of time and you just kind of want to change things up. You kind of want to switch it up and you're locked with the old stuff. And that goes to my next point here It's to create a backup constantly. Now, this should be something that you should always do, not necessarily every week or anything like that, but at least every month or every other month. Create a backup of everything. Like create a backup of your products. So export all your products to a CSV and keep it in a hard drive somewhere. If you purchase the theme, go ahead and create a backup by exporting it into a zip file. And then from there, you could also export your settings, which you could use Microsoft Word or Pages or whatever, and then copy paste those texts into a Word document. You need to create a backup, and you'll understand exactly why I'm saying that the backup is so important if you are down the road already where you want to kind of like switch this up, okay? So right away, what I'm going to tell you is if you're looking for a fast solution to just say, let me just change this URL right away, kind of easy, but kind of not. Now let's get to the technicalities as towards why this is kind of difficult, but it's doable. All right, so several things, right? Like depending on how you're trying to solve this problem, this could be something that is very, very easy or slightly difficult. So let me just give you an example. So right here, if you're in the back end of the account, if you go to the actual online store, you'll see something here, especially if you just uploaded your theme and it says My Tea Store, right? Or it says your store, whatever the default is, right? And you're like, well, how do I change this? How do I change this up here? Okay. And of course, you could upload your logo within the theme, right? So that's one of the solutions. And I'm sure this might pertain to you or this might not. Remember, I'm going to cover a lot of different scenarios as to what you're going through. Okay. So if you go to customize theme into whatever theme that you purchased and you want to kind of just change that name right there, don't worry, I'm going to touch all subjects. So don't get frustrated. Okay. You're going to go right here to where it says header, and then you're going to go ahead and swap out your logo. And then from there on the logo, you could just kind of like click on that and it'll change it, right? That's one way of doing it. And that might not be what you're looking for, but that's just in case if you came into this video to search, how do you change it from there at that point? Okay. So that's one way of doing it. Let me go ahead and not choose that. Let me revert it back to that default method, and let's go back to our original problem. The other way might be that if you just want to change that text, right? You want to go to where it says settings, and you want to go here to where it says general. And in general, what you're going to do is you're going to change this to another store. Again, this might not be what you're looking for, but this is just another scenario if that's what you're looking for. We're going to talk about the real scenario in a second. So right when I change that, if you go here on the front end, you'll see that that's what it changed right there. That's how you change the name of the store on that particular instance. Now let's talk about what I think everybody's here for. And it's this guy right here. So you see the whole .shopify.com, that URL, you probably might be like, how do I change this? Because this, I created it perhaps a long time ago and it's not what it is. And this is not the right spelling. This is not the right name. Okay. So let's talk about this for a second. Okay. So you remember what I told you about planning. If you are about to start a new store, or if you barely did anything, if you've barely done anything to your store and you're in this problem, here's the solution. Okay. You really haven't gotten that far with your Shopify store for you to sweat this. Let's face it, like back here, you haven't done the products, you haven't done any of that. And so you're having this issue. It's not a big deal yet, right? So it's safe for you to just say, you know what? I'm going to just close the store. I'm going to just go over here to settings, and I'm going to say plans and permission and scroll all the way down here. And I'm going to sell or close the store and just close the account. Let that go. Let the old URL go, right? Of the Shopify.com. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to, click on the link on the bottom to get your 14-day trial or whatever and start a new store, but with the correct name. Okay. You might come across a problem and you might say, well, hold on. I tried doing that. I closed my old store and I tried to create a new store, but Shopify is telling me that the new URL is not available, as if someone else might be using it. That's okay too, because you need to remember something. You see this URL where it's myshopify.com. Once your store actually goes live, not a lot of people are going to see that. People are not going to see this. The only person that's actually going to see this is you, the store owner. So for whatever reason, it could say SpongeBob.myshopify.com. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is what your customer sees. And if you click on where it says online store and domains, based on that domain that you've purchased, if you plug it up here, it's going to mask this URL once your website goes live. Okay? So as long as you purchase the correct domain and you plug it up here on the back end, your customers will never see this here. And you'll just kind of overwrite based on whatever domain that you have. So if the question is, hey, I have an old domain and it's, whatever.com and that's not the right one, well, then go to GoDaddy or go somewhere else to purchase the new domain and go back here to where it says online store domains and then change it, update that. That's scenario number two out of this whole spiel of things, right? Okay, but what if you're just like this OCD person? You're just like, no, this old URL, it just really gets on my nerves. I just can't tolerate it. And I'm already deep into the business, meaning that I have already added the products. I already have a theme. I'm already real in on this. Okay? And I need to change this because it bothers me. I ask you a question if that's the case with you. The method that I'm going to explain to you is time consuming. But the real question is it really worth it to do all of that just because of this right here? Right? Something that only you're going to see. For all you care, this could say abc123.myshopify.com. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is the domain as to what the client sees. But if you're like, no, for company purposes, for legal purposes, this domain must be exactly what we wanted to say, then you go through my last step, which is go to products. Go to products, export. Export all your products into a CSV. Download that, export it. It'll go into your email. It'll just download right away. That's number one. Number two, go to collections. It's time to whatever collections you have going on here, take a screenshot. There's no way to export all of this. Just take a screenshot as to what you had going on here. Export that out. Go to your customers. Whatever customers that you had going on here, export that out. Get everybody out of here, right? We're moving. Go to the apps. Screenshot all those apps, right? And keep them on record. Go to online store. Go to online store, go to actions, go to where it says download theme, download that theme in a zip file, okay? And then right away, go ahead and create that other store. Once you create that other store with the new URL, that's when you just go into and reverse the whole thing. Import, you import it out. But keep one thing in mind, do not close the old store until you finalize in moving everything into the new Shopify account. Because if you delete the old one and you're trying to upload that CSV, it's not going to work. Or it's going to partially work, but it's not going to bring all those products in. It's time consuming, guys. That's the reality. But there's no way inside of Shopify to say, go to settings just to change this here. So the point of this whole video is to share with you that, yes, technically you can change it, but it's almost brain surgery. And you really have to ask yourself, is the time worth me going through all of this just because this URL bothers me? A URL that your customers will never see. The URL that they're going to see is the domain name. That's what really matters, the .com. And once you got the .com in there, if you're like, oh, Edwin, I went ahead and I put the .com, but the old myshopify.com is still showing. Well, change the primary domain. As long as it's here, that's what's important first, right? So connect your existing domain, and then if this is here, then change the primary name to the .com. And once the .com is there and you press this here, you're going to notice that that's the new .com. All right? So if this is still conflicting with you, if all the scenarios that I've explained does not match with your scenarios, I want you to leave it down at the comments and let me know what's your scenario. Why are you stuck? Why is changing the name so critical for you where you cannot just change the domain? I want to learn, because if there's something that I didn't cover here, then I'll be more than happy to make another video to see if I could solve that problem for you. All right, thank you again for watching. Again, if you like this type of content, leave comments, let me know, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, because I post videos very randomly and it's very informative stuff. So if you have that notification, you'll be in the alert to say, hey, look, Rezolutions just posted another new video that you're going to benefit from. Awesome. Talk to you soon, and thank you very much.